It started as a podcast based around social sciences. Quickly became a show about nothing. Transitioned to a show where it was a little bit less about nothing and maybe a little bit more about the world around us. Less sciencey. Then Wes took some time off and we became a podcast about getting off your ass and doing something. And then we decided, you know what, we're actually going to be all right talking about current events and maybe a little bit about talking about nothing. And here we are, folks, at episode 50. Welcome to the Life Midwest podcast. I'm Kevin Palmer. That's Wes Shirley. And with us, joining us on this special occasion is special guest co-host Lenny Wells.
Woo! Yay, me. I'm here. Thanks for having me on your 50th episode. I'm honored. I hope you guys are too.
No.
Wes,
very honored. Very honored.
I love it. Wes, how are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm hot diggity or something or other. Doing whale. Doing whale?
You're doing whale?
Whale. Doing whale.
Welcome.
Oh no, that's a whole nother topic.
That's not a subject matter I was looking to cover today.
Oh, well, what did you want to talk about today, Kevin?
You know, I'm glad you asked, actually. We're mostly I'm mostly hoping to be talking about what we've enjoyed, favorite moments and things that we've enjoyed from the first 49 episodes of the show. Hard to believe that we've already made it to 50 episodes. We are not a COVID cast. We've survived COVID. We've survived a pandemic.
So far.
Come on, man. We're rounding a corner on it or something, aren't we?
Who knows anymore?
Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, we got pills now. COVID related, at least.
COVID pills.
COVID pills.
I mean, you're not wrong.
What?
I'm really Wes, I love your delivery.
Kevin, are you unfamiliar with the COVID pills?
No, yeah, I am.
We got motherfucking COVID pills. So yeah, we are like turning a corner or something. This is mostly tongue in cheek. I don't know shit about the COVID pills. I just heard about them.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's stick to the stuff that I guess what we do know, and what we do know is a little bit about our history. For those who don't know, and I don't think we ever really talked about it on the show, this podcast, fun fact, is actually the brainchild of Schwess.
Schwowdy.
Schwess approached me about doing the podcast. You want to talk about that a little bit, man?
Sure. I was just graduating the universities with a communications major. I wanted to do a podcast because that's kind of what we're learning about is, the means of communication, studying communication to an extent, and then also techniques within like the communication sciences, I guess, podcast, radio, DJing, television, news anchor, whatever. So I was talking with Kevin and he said he wanted to start like maybe streaming, doing Twitch, doing YouTube. And I knew I wanted to create something alongside Kevin because being his friend for it's got to be like, I don't know, hold on. We're
15 years,
39,000 years old at this point. So we've been friends for like a hot minute. And I'm like, he's done projects, bands and other group type activities. I'm like, I want to do something with Kevin. So I approached him and talked about it. And do you want to pick it up from there? I think that's, I knew you were down for it, but I don't really know like how you felt about it.
Yeah, I think when Wes first approached me about it, it was a really interesting prospect because again, I was considering the idea of starting streaming or YouTube and that side of content creation. But then I remembered something. People can be assholes in real time to you when you're trying to content create.
Boy, isn't that the truth.
And so I let my social anxiety get in the way and I was like, well, fuck this. And I think there was a piece of me that still wanted to do something though. And to me, I don't want to say that a podcast felt safer, but it felt like something that that I could consistently perform at. Like I wouldn't have a bad day and I wouldn't have a good day. I feel like every day would be roughly consistent with just a little bit of an improvement each episode, whether that's quality or content or a combination of the two. So I felt really good about it. That from my perspective, and I Wes and I have always talked about doing something together, and it took 15 years, but it finally happened.
I wanted this to be a project where we could both just learn new techniques, abilities, skills. To be fair, even though I went to school to learn about communications, it was only a short portion of while I was at school, and we never really made functional podcasts or anything. So expanding on production skills within various suites or software suites, and there's a lot that goes into it from every aspect. I had no idea, Kevin, you were going to be an absolute natural, just like on a microphone. Like I probably would not be confident in this podcast if it wasn't for you, like kind of taking lead on everything. You have like an announcer-esque voice, and it's nice. It gives us some momentum that my laid back kind of like unenthusiastic approach brings,
I feel like Kevin has like a leg up though, because you got to remember his dad worked in radio for how many years? So that having that like, or being able to communicate in that way, it's probably something that he's was exposed to from very early on. Am I like super off base with that, or?
No, not at all. I would say that one of my skills I guess I have is the ability to kind of emulate things that I see or observe, and I'm a very observant person. So growing up with my dad being in radio for almost 3 decades total, there's a lot that you listen for, and there's a lot that he would show me when I went into the studio. They actually used Adobe Audition, and he would pre-record like weather forecast bits or other little bits and pieces that you hear on the radio that aren't actually live, but you think they are, and you feel like they are because they're produced a certain way. It goes to show you, just as an example for our podcast, each episode probably has anywhere from 60 to 125 edits. And the goal is that you, the listener, don't hear any of that. And it just sounds naturally authentic and live. To me, that's a successful episode. And that's just, again, I guess to both your guys' points, being able to do that, I guess, is a credit of being able to emulate myself and words, emulate things that I observe around me.
Kevin, that's called masking, and it's an indicator of ADHD. Yeah, no, but Kevin, I do want to say that you're quite successful at hiding those edits, and not to just wank you off the whole episode, but it's there's, aside from like the episodes that I've been on, I wouldn't know otherwise that where the edits are. So congratulations on that.
Thanks, guys. Thank you both. I really, really do appreciate that. I do want to kind of talk today, not just about myself and wanking myself off, but also kind of some of the favorite, some of our favorite stories that have come out of the Life Midwest and the show itself, whether that be from the My Friends series or certain parts of the genre that we've delved into, different types of podcasts that we kind of morphed into as we evolved. Lenny, Wes, whoever wants to start, when do you want to take it away, as far as just kind of talk about the overall chronological timeline and what you've observed, whether Wes, that's you as a co-host, or Lenny, that's you as a listener.
Wes, I'll let you take it, since you helped run this place.
Sure. You could say I do something like that. You'd be lying, but some of my favorite parts of the show have just been like the off the cuff silliness. If it was my choice in like all of life would just be silly. I'm a silly person. So when those kind of naturally happen in the episodes, I get like, I can't explain it in words, but I can paint you a picture. Like, just like kind of shoulders hunched over, hand over mouth giggling. That period when we were the podcast about nothing, that was actually pretty fun. I had some reserves about like actually continuing with content like that, because you can't really, I guess you could, but like I felt like maybe we wouldn't be taken seriously, and at some point the goal is to produce content which is taken seriously. But that was a really fun part.
So do you think that you can't like do something like that's, you know, quote unquote about nothing, but be serious about it? Because like for a long time, like I'll just like give you an example. One of the podcasts I listened, like the thing that like got me to listening that's all, folks. The thing that got me into listening to podcasts was the Rooster Teeth podcast. And that podcast is essentially about nothing. They talk about like, they kind of dip and tiptoe around current events. Kind of like, it's really similar to like what it's turned, your guys' podcast has turned into lately. But then there's also, they just go off the rails about absolutely nothing. And they'll talk about just stories, you know, it's that, it's not quite as specific a niche as like your guys' My Friend series, but you know, they'll talk about just you know, things that happen in their life. I don't know if it's still that way, cause I haven't listened to it in a few years for an X, Y, and Z reason, but you know, that's what got me listening to podcasts. And, you know, they take it serious, you know, it's nothing, but they take it seriously. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, I guess to, you know, ask the question again, like, do you feel like you couldn't do that? Like have that extended period or go back to that and still be taken seriously?
I think we could definitely, if we focused on that and really kind of honed in on that type of content. I think we could be at the minimum capable of doing such content in a serious way. I think the approach we were taking though was like of time restraints, so it just ended up not being serious. And while it was fun, I don't think it would have been sustainable for like both of us having confidence in what we're doing. I don't know how Kevin feels on that matter, but that's kind of how I viewed it. I'm not necessarily sure I approached it that way, but switching from that content, I kind of feel like that was how I felt about it, which, you know, could be completely off base. I don't know. I like being goofy. Anything that we put our mind to in this podcast, I think we can accomplish, whether if it's Kevin and I ourselves individually or any of the people we bring on with us. It's a platform which we can do. It's a sandbox. We can do whatever we want. It's akin to a YouTube vlog series or even writing a blog on a website. It's kind of converged media, but we've picked just the radio portion of it almost. But you can get it everywhere. And I look at podcast, I guess visual. I look at series or creators like on YouTube. For example, you were talking about Rooster Teeth, but there's like Good Mythical Morning where it's two co-hosts.
Yeah, Rhett and Link.
Yeah, and they do being silly seriously. And that would be a great image to try to get towards. I feel like they already do it, and they claim like a good portion of that niche as like the OGs there. And I guess the OGs on the internet, that kind of style has been around forever. You can go through like public TV records and see stuff similar to it, variety show-esque. I would very much like to do something like that. Current events is fun. I feel like I'm pulled between all of the types of genres and paths that we could take, just because it's so vast, and anything we jump into is bound to be fruitful, fun, and a way to, you know, skill up, learn, whatever, get better in our craft. But I feel I bring enough silliness, and Kevin brings enough silliness, and our guests bring enough silliness that regardless of what direction we do, current events even can be silly.
I really fucking miss Massachusetts, man.
We can bring it back. It was funny.
Wes, can I ask you a question? Well, I'm going to ask you a question. Whether or not you answer it is another matter. Has there been a portion of the that's not the right wording. Throughout the podcast life cycle so far, has there been like a time period that you haven't been necessarily a fan of, or that like looking back you're like, I didn't really like doing that?
Ooh, the things that are more sensitive, the things that are more private, I have a weird feeling after I do them, like the recording of my sleep episode, or my sleep issue episode, or the several my life or my friend Wes life update episodes. It definitely filled content, and it required me to introspect to a level I may not have otherwise. So I'm definitely grateful that I stuck through and actually did those, recorded those, or sat through a recording of those. It's uncomfortable. I don't like doing it. But it's not a bad product at the end, I feel. And maybe that's me thinking about it a little too objectively and like removing myself from it, which can't be helpful since it's an emotional thing. I guess that would be like, there's a bit of cognitive dissonance there. When I listen to myself saying words over a podcast that are like personal, that like I wouldn't like tell a random person, I wouldn't advertise that, but there it is to the world. I cringe, I guess would be the feeling. So I'm in the inverse of this, or like the opposite. The episodes that I'm not in are my favorite ones for that exact reason.
So I hope I'm not giving away too many trade secrets here, but do you, because I know like anytime that I've been a guest on, and even when you guys had Brittaney on, I know that Kevin he'll take that recording and like he'll like send it to us and be like, hey, if you want to listen to it in case like you want to do like want me to edit something, or maybe do like a re-record for a little bit. Do you not listen to like the weekly playback and just let him do it?
So it depends on how sensitive the content is. The episodes about me, I try to at least audit them if I'm not too busy. Like in Zencastr, which we're recording through, you can save your file, and I always save mine. And I'll listen back through it at parts that I'm not sure about. Like, I don't always know what's coming out of my mouth. Like, the brain has a little bit of a lag, and then I'm on to my next thought, and that's all lost anyways. So if I have a suspicion I said something dumb, I might go back and re-listen to it. But I always listen to the episode he sends me finished before it goes live. I just try not to give him things to do. I know how much work he already has on his plate, and I've produced content before like this, so I know roughly, even if he has a good system, good format down, good algorithm for how he works down, he's probably spending an hour minimum on an episode, even if just
lots of Adderall.
And probably several more hours in thinking about it, reviewing it throughout the day, so on and so forth. Like, so unless it's really critical that I get something changed that I said that I don't like, I'm not going to request that it even gets changed. It's a learning process. I will ideally learn to keep foot out of mouth if I don't want it there, I guess.
Oh, I'm really good at sticking foot in mouth. You can ask my wife that next time she's around.
Just seems like it belongs there, huh?
Tasty toes. Kevin, let me ask you, I want to ask you the same question or unless like you want to like do like the talk through, but I do want to ask you, has there been a period during, the podcast life so far that you haven't been a fan of, or something similar to that?
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to sound like I'm mimicking Wes's answer in any sort of way, but it's actually probably the episodes where I was by myself. Maybe not at first. I think at first it was kind of fun. I was able to make some dumb jokes, like playing Billy Idol's Dancing with Myself. Coming back from the break the first time I did it, and then once it eventually turned into a series where I was just kind of talking to nobody and not really having anybody to bounce ideas off of or thoughts off of, you were really depending on the listener to say, hey, this is bad, or hey, this is good, versus I think sometimes Wes and I are recording and one of us will go, hey, this hasn't really branched out how I thought it was going to. Can we start over? I didn't really have that sort of barometer kind of guiding me that I think you normally have when you have a co-host, when you're doing episodes alone. So I know a lot of people enjoyed them and thought that they were great. But I think, to answer your question, for me personally, that would be the segment of the show so far. The segment of the show's discography so far that I would lean on for that answer. As far as like walking through the discography, I had a lot of fun when it was the show about nothing. I think the concern that eventually unfolded with Wes and I was, like he said, was this a sustainable thing where we just talk about nothing? Seinfeld did it. Why can't we? Well, we can't do it because we're not, we're not the equivalent writers of 9 seasons worth of comedy. So I think that, I feel that. And I think in order to keep it going, what you need is this mix of current events plus the silliness. And so maybe it's not a show about nothing, but, we're also not fucking, CNN and all, doom and gloom, or like any news station really is all doom and gloom right now. Right. Or any more these days, but just trying to inject some fun into it, but also staying relevant. I think we're at that real sweet spot now, and I'm really happy with it.
That's a great answer.
Thanks. Hey, stick around, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of our favorite moments from the podcast, from the show so far. So don't go away. Welcome back, everyone, to the Life Midwest podcast. On the other side of the break, it's Kevin Palmer, Wes Shirley, and special guest co-host Lenny Wells with you today. Hey, what the fuck was that?
I thought it was going to be a way better burp, but it wasn't. It was a real weak piece of shit.
Sounds like you tripped on a dick. You never are able to describe something until you hear it, and then you're like, oh, that's what it sounds like. Hey, if you're looking for ways to support us, we do have a PayPal that's live, paypal.me/thelifemidwest. If you're looking for free ways to support us, you can also reach out to any of our major social platforms at The Life Midwest. You can follow us, like us, share us, leave a comment. DM. Wes loves those. You can also check out our website. Yeah, we have a website at it's called thelifemidwest.com. All one word, lowercase. It's not. You know what? I don't know why I fucking say that. Websites aren't case sensitive. I'm just nervous because Lenny's here. You can also email us at support@thelifemidwest.com. No new emails to read this week, but when we do, I have a new jingle for us. So,
ooh, I can't wait.
Yeah. So if you want to hear that jingle,
I just want to say that. So normally I listen to the podcast like on my way to work, but
I'm so sorry.
Why? It makes my morning commute so much better because I live in a place that has a lot of really bad traffic. You think you know what bad traffic is until you come to the West Coast. Kevin, you don't know this, but or maybe you do, I don't know. But so Michael came out for the wedding, I invited you, but you couldn't come for whatever reason. Anyways,
wow, you, Kevin.
Wow.
No, but anyways,
that's the nicest way anyone's ever told me to suck a dick before.
Well, okay, getting back to the story. Mike, for those who may or may not know, used to live in and around like the DC area, and which is, nefarious, or what's the word I'm looking for? Not nefarious.
Notorious?
No, infamous. Is infamous for having really bad traffic and some of the worst supposedly in the world. And he came out and told me that this is the worst traffic he's ever seen on I-5. So go us. But that so your guys' podcast makes my Monday morning so much better. Getting back to what I was trying to say is that I was going to donate to your PayPal. But the first episode of February was Brittany's episode. And that's when I saw. So then I heard about the flannel fund, and I was like, "Oh fuck, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna buy myself a flannel. How dare they?" So this episode's being filmed What the hell? It's being recorded in March. So you'll get a donation after this goes live.
This is a March episode, so I look forward to that. I appreciate that. Lenny here, for those who don't know or haven't listened that far back, maybe you became a fan of the show afterwards. We used to run on Patreon, and Lenny actually became our first patron and was at our $5 level of buying us tacos. So anytime we ate tacos, we always thought of him. Not that we were directly spending the money on that; it was going towards Adobe and whatever else we spent money on. But yeah, it was a good way to pay homage to it by having tacos. So we always appreciated that.
You could have spent the money on tacos. I don't give a shit.
So, as a listener, what are some of your favorite moments of the podcast / some of your least favorite moments? You can answer that in whatever order. I'd be happy all the same.
I think I'll just go chronologically. At the beginning, I was a little unsure. And not because like I didn't think that you guys could put together a good podcast. After your guys' introductory episodes for the My Friend Kevin and My Friend Wes, or My Friend Wes and My Friend Kevin, were really good. I think that was a great way to let people know who you were and that kind of thing. But you started real heavy, and I know that you guys are going as like initially as like a educational social sciences podcast, and that's fine. But I was kind of worried, and I think I emailed or talked to Kevin about this, that like being like trying to be careful about like, not that I thought that was your intention, but the way some of the conversations went almost sounded like as if like you guys were experts. And I don't know if like he even talked to you about that, Wes, but it was just something that like I was a little bit concerned about. There was an episode. Which one was it? Hold on, let me look through. I think it had to do with like normal thoughts, the episode 9. And sorry, my wife just walked by the office and gave my 5-year-old a stern "put your pajamas on." So, but anyways,
I thought she was talking to you.
No, I'm naked right now. I'm not. I'm wearing clothes. So that's like I was just a little worried about that. But I still think you guys are doing a really good job. So don't take it the wrong way. But I did enjoy the transition towards like a more not about anything sort of podcast. Listening to you guys have fun was a lot of fun. And even still now, like where it's like a little bit silly, it's a little bit of nothing, a little bit of current events. It's a good time. But backing up a little bit, I could tell that Kevin's stint of episodes by himself were towards the end, were starting to maybe like take a little bit of a toll on him. So I'm really glad that like towards the end of that, you got a couple more of my friends in there. You got Laura's episode, which is really cool. I really like the My Friend episodes where it's people that I don't actually know, because I've seen interactions like on social media between like Laura and like Kevin, or so it's people like in the sphere of influence that like I've seen like mention of or whatever. Anyways, it's really cool getting to like know those people a little bit better through their My Friend episodes. And to kind of piggyback off that, I agree that chili is a soup, but only sometimes.
Interesting.
And it could be like a meat porridge too, if you're chunky with it.
Meat porridge.
That's still a soup, but I think a porridge is still a soup, but sometimes it's a condiment, because like you put it on a hot dog, you're not like having a sandwich, a soup sandwich, when you're having a chili dog. So I don't know. Sometimes it's a soup. Sometimes it's something else.
So is a soup bowl then just a bread bowl with a soup condiment?
Is a soup bowl a bread bowl with a soup condiment?
I don't know. I'm trying to break the logic. I'm not sure it's working.
No. Oh, you broke my logic. You broke my thinking brain. Maybe. Let's go with maybe. But I've really enjoyed just the being able to see the evolution of it from this podcast from start to finish. And I'm really optimistic with where I think it could go. I think you guys could, I think you might. Maybe I'm biased. I'm probably biased, but I think you guys have something special, and I'm just excited to see it continue.
I appreciate that, man. You hit me right in the feels.
Well, I can't hit you in the head, so I don't know. That didn't make any sense.
Well, I'm gonna leave it in.
I don't care.
No, I appreciate you sharing your insight on that, and I do feel a lot of that same energy. I'm very excited about kind of what we've become and kind of where we're going. I have a friend who I just recently connected with a few months ago who said, well, I'm going to go back and listen to the very first episode all the way through now. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Just started like episode like 44, please, for the love of God. And they're like, nope, I'm going to start at 1. I'm like, okay. And I think like there's a reason why you leave all the other episodes up, right? Like you gotta, your first everything sucks, right? Your first word is barely articulated. It's what, fucking mama.
Are you saying that my firstborn child is a piece of shit?
No, that's taking that a little too far. I think we're taking that example a little too far. Your first podcast, your first book report, your first school project, it's usually not, the last and greatest thing that you've ever done. And sometimes I got to remember that when I go back and listen to those episodes, you had a starting point. And I think we had a decent starting point. But I'm also obviously a lot more proud of where we are now. I don't know if Wes feels the same way, but
yeah, to hit on kind of what you had said, Lenny, that it did get to the point where we were like trying to come off as the experts, and that was one of my greatest fears then. Like that was one of the kind of speed bumps for or I guess some of my trepidation towards continuing in such a format. Is that I'm not an expert, and it gave me so much anxiety to say things that I'm not positive are real under the ruse that maybe I am trying to be an expert. I think I expressed to Kevin several times, no, we can't say that. It's going to give me anxiety. And I know from what Kevin had expressed to me, he was also glad kind of getting away from that because he didn't really I had to get the topics ready for him so he could preview them in his short time, and it just added a lot of anxiety to everyone. So this shorter format, this kind of goofier, less serious format is, I think, overall just a better thing.
Well, I don't know if I would, and again, this is just my personal preference, and I obviously don't have anything else to do with the show usually, but I think you guys could go for a little bit longer. I would enjoy that, at least a little bit of a longer show, because I'm driving to work and I'm laughing. I've become a really big fan of the kazoo. And
fuck, here it comes.
But
come on, Wes, get it over with.
I'm looking for it.
But you guys have such good energy together that I personally feel that, you guys could do a 45-minute or even hour long podcast and it would still be good. I don't know if it's not for editing reasons and or if it's not because of, you guys just genuinely don't have the personal time to give up for that long, but I know I would personally enjoy it.
I appreciate the feedback, and I'd love to hear that from others too, as far as if they like the half-hour format, or if they do find themselves wishing it was a little bit longer. I think at first it went from an hour to a half hour because for a couple of reasons. One, I felt like because we were talking about a little bit less sciencey stuff, it felt like, or like when we stopped doing the social sciences thing, it was like, okay, the only reason we're spending an hour talking about it is because there's an hour's worth of content here. Let's go down to a half hour. And I think it just kind of like we never really revisited it after that. And so like today, for example, like this is going to be an hour-long episode because it's a celebration of 50 episodes. And I think we have enough here to talk about to where, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm doing 50 minutes for 50 episodes. I just thought about it. God damn it. I'm sticking with it. I'm going to find a way to keep this under. I'm going to find a way to keep this in 50 minutes or at least close to it. So
Wes, you know what that means? That means we have to provide such quality content that he can't cut it down past 55.
All right. Challenge accepted. We to start off the challenge. Oh, it's broken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. You're wrestling my Jimmy.
Oh shit.
Jesus.
We're gonna get moved to the adult category.
Well, I mean, you guys tag at least everything on when it's on. So again, I listen through Google Podcasts because I'm a contrarian, I guess. But it's labeled as explicit, your podcast, so I think you're good.
I'm pretty sure that you know what, that brings me to the next point that I wanted to cover in today's episode, which are favorite moments of the podcast. And this isn't really a moment, but it's definitely a mistake that I made at one point, like a blooper, I guess we'll say. There was at least one episode that I forgot to label explicit, and the word fuck was definitely said.
Did you get your pee slapped for it?
Not yet, but I think that's, that could happen. I don't know. But I just kind of look back on it and I'm like, oops, that's something I forgot to do. Teehee, and I just like kind of move on with my day.
Kevin, what do you have a favorite episode?
Yes, I would say it's probably about I want to say it was episode 44. Let me look. I'm going to cheat and look real quick because that's what we do here on the show.
That what are you doing?
Oh no, that one was pretty good though. With the last when he was training at Wendy's. Yeah. What are you doing? No, it was not episode 44. It was. I was really proud of the season finale of season 1 with Laura about the existential crisis, and we talked about we went in all these different directions of having a no bones or a bones day, and it was just a very generic conversation wrapped around something that I think a lot of people in our generation feel. So that was definitely an episode I was really proud of for sure. And I would say the other one is probably was right before that was Keeping Up with Technology, where Wes and I talked about, cryptocurrency and kind of the state of it and how people were, the madness of camping outside of Best Buys and people getting in fistfights over fucking graphics cards. That was just, surreal shit. Because it was something that I kind of lived through and was experiencing firsthand as not only a gamer, but as a cryptocurrency miner. Obviously small league compared to some of the crazy ass people out there who have, they built fucking garages to house all of their equipment, but we won't go there.
So spoiler alert, I had a lot to say about that, and I was gonna write an email to you guys with a prompt, but then you're like, next week's our season finale, so I was like, so they're probably not going to continue this idea, so I didn't write the email.
I you know what, I'd love to have you back on when I know we plan on, or at least I wanted to do an episode once Ethereum converts to 2.0, once it converts to proof of stake, and I would love to revisit the topic, and I'd love to have you on for that.
You could just make me a permanent third host. Not to put you on the spot or anything. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'd love to do that.
Cool.
Wes, do you have a favorite episode? I obviously I'm just going to assume it's one that you're not on, but that's called a callback.
So to be fair, my favorite episodes, because they are the ones I'm not on, and literally they're all the most enjoyable. So oh god, I have to cheat too. Let me pull up the
I have the list in front of me, so
all right, let's see here. It was the first one of the like get off your ass series, basically. Because was it making changes for the better? 32.
Existential crisis born from COVID. I think that's the first.
Okay,
That is the first one. Yeah.
It was the first one because like at that time, the whole purpose of me not being there was I'm going to work a whole crap ton to make extra money to go see Yui in Thailand. So I'm still here in the States. I'm still listening to the podcast on my drives like I would normally anyways. But I had to put no effort into them. And I get to sit there and enjoy just like something that I participated in, like, I guess, encouraging, but then Kevin just being an absolute star on the podcast. All right, so it had this very specific feel to it. And contrary to how I feel current days about religion and everything, I used to go to church with my family, and it reminds me of a Cedar Creek sermon. Ooh. Just the energy you bring. It was so reminiscent of it. So like I'm immediately hooked. I'm like, okay, where's he going with this? And just constant energy the whole time. That's probably my favorite episode. But then like the episode with the three of you, Lenny and Ace, that was excellent. Like, again, I wasn't there. I learned about some more of Lenny and his adult life. I before this podcast, I heard about you having children. I didn't know you had like several. And so I got to learn about that. And yeah, definitely between those two. I like all the episodes for their own reasons, but the ones where I'm not there, I can enjoy just a little bit extra.
I was pretty proud of the one with Ace. I had a lot of great shitty puns in there in that episode.
Kevin, that was a really good episode, and the thing that like I find I don't read too much into this. It's the episode's slightly disappointing for me only because Ace currently doesn't appreciate it because they're a moody teenager. So, you know, in like 10 years, they'll have a chance to look back on that and like be able to laugh and enjoy it and see it for what I think it is, or even like what we collectively think it is. But, and again, I loved it. And I wish that they could see it the way that maybe we do. Because that's the only thing that kind of bums me out, is that it's going to take them so long to appreciate it.
You know what, Ace? I'm going to tell you something because I know you're listening, and your dad's going to make you listen to this podcast. So I'm going to tell you something real quick. I used to be in a band in high school. It's called Teolin. Okay.
Ooh, deep cuts.
And I thought I was the coolest, edgiest motherfucker there ever was playing guitar in that band. And now, whenever there's a picture that pops up of me in that band or a video that pops up of me in that band, I have to deal with my fiance just figuratively and mentally cutting my balls off every time that shit comes up.
Kevin, has she seen the video for the song Untitled Desperate Finale?
She's seen everything.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately. Like, I look back at that shit and I feel super nostalgic, right? And I'm like, man, I can't believe that I was doing that, like at 14, 15, 16. Like, I feel like we had something really special for such a young age, doing something like so musically literate. And I just look over at her and she's like, you're so fucking cringe.
I'm not gonna lie, every once in a while, like when I do decide to be on Facebook and like something from like the memories pops up from like Taylor, I'm like, oh man, that was such a cool time.
Because it was.
It was.
Because dude. It was.
That was a lot of fun. When you guys first started the podcast, the original intro that you guys had, I thought that you wrote that. That
makes my soul so warm. You have no idea.
Well, because actually most of the time that I've known you now, since we're getting old, you've always been musically inclined to some degree. And, you know, right at the start of COVID, you know, that January, you were still playing with Stretch, with Kyal. Oh, hold on one second. Good night, bud. Good night. Woo!
Be like Lenny, hype your kids off for bed.
Anyways, yeah, you were still doing live music, not semi-professionally, as crazy as that is to say. So yeah, I thought that, those little guitar riffs, I thought you had done that. I was like, oh dude, that's so fucking cool. And then I don't know, you said it one time in or you shouted out where you got the music from, and I was like, oh man.
Well, what's funny is that so when we took the 2 months off and we were kind of restructuring and looking for different things that we wanted to change about the podcast, and I kind of revisited the music and sat down for a couple of days and worked on it, and you try to find royalty free music, but also music that doesn't sound like shit. And amazingly enough, despite having landed on this great epic one that we currently use for season 2, probably not going to stick around again because I got tagged with copyright despite it being royalty and ownership free for public use. So I don't know where the fuck YouTube is coming from there, but basically what I'm saying is I think the universe is going to force me into picking up music for recording something one more time. And using it for the podcast eventually.
I have a hard time believing it'll be just one more time.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that too. Hopefully it's not just one more time.
Because I feel confident in saying that if it hadn't been for the Rona, that you'd still be playing shows with Kyal. At least I hope so anyways. I
think that's fair to say. Yeah.
I know that at least the last time I had talked to you about it, there was some tension within the group. Cause I had been begging you and Kyal to go on tour, and you were like, well, we really want to. But there was reason X, Y, and Z why you guys couldn't. But, so, I think that, that's not, too far outside, I don't think you're hanging up the guitar forever.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak too much into the whole thing with Stretch, but I will say that it's a great group of guys. I love them all to death. I think that at the end of the day we were all at kind of different levels of commitment, and that kind of was exacerbated by COVID because it produced for those who maybe had their sights set on other things besides Stretch and what it was and what it could be. COVID kind of drove that inspiration even more downward. And it just eventually, I think it just became this thing where it felt kind of mundane going to practice and just wasn't really exciting anymore. And when it comes to COVID and all the other external factors, you can't really argue with that. So it's nothing against the guys or anything like that. I have love and respect for all of them. It was a great part of my life. I just, it's one of those things that just kind of, unfortunately, just kind of fizzled out. And then Kyal's got his own podcast now at Cinemoronic, and him and Dylan are doing a fantastic job, I think, talking about movies at an analytical level, but also, being able to inject a lot of humor into it and kind of doing their own thing and having their own kind of traditions, things they do each episode is really, really cool and fun to see and fun to listen to. So actually, I'm going to put their info in the podcast description today's episode if you want to check them out. Again, it's Cinemoronic. They talk about movies. So if you like listening or talking about movies, they're your group. They're your couple. I don't want to call them a couple, but I just did. They're your couple. So
they're a couple. Speaking of Kyal, do you remember the Sunkiss song that he made?
I remember every song he's ever made.
I was actually, when I got off work today, and I got home and I immediately got in the shower and I was thinking about the podcast, and then I just because of the weird way that my brain works, I started thinking about like things to talk about, and for some reason I started thinking about Stretch, and then I thought about that Sunkiss song. And I know why, is because I had to Brittaney wanted me to pick up soda on my way home, and they only had they didn't have Sunkissed, because I would have got Sunkissed if they would have had it. So I ended up getting, I don't know, whatever the Coke soda is. the Coke orange soda.
I don't know about Wes, but my favorite song that Kyal ever did, and this is including Stretch. This is including Stretch. This is including Stretch before I joined the band. This includes all of Kyle's solo work. His best song, 100%, is the "Holla at Your Boy." If your best friend's a cat.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
It is so fucking catchy. I'm gonna.
Holla at your boy if your best friend's a cat. Yeah. Holla at your boy if your best friend's a cat. Holla at your boy. Holla at your boy. Meow. Meow. Holla at your boy if your best friend's a cat. Yeah. Holla at your boy if your best friend's a cat. Holla at your boy. Holla at your boy. Meow. Meow.
It's so good. I remember the first time that because I could be wrong and I could be talking out of my ass, but the Sunkissed song was the first like thing that I ever heard him do musically. And it's not, I mean, how do I say this without sounding like an asshole to him? It's not his best work, right? It was real rough, real early in his musical career, but it's so much better than it has any right to be. Just be a song about Sunkissed. It's so catchy, at least to me. It's not uncommon that like I'll just be going through my day and just go drip drip all over your lips. Can I get a Sunkissed? Oh me, oh my, I cannot lie, and I want you to feel all orange inside. Even so, to this day. You
remember more words of your favorite song by Kyal Randolph than I do of mine. It's pretty embarrassing.
Can I get a Sunkissed?
I think that's where we should start the shout outs this week, boys. I'm going to shout out Kyal Randolph, not just his podcast and his musical talent, but just Kyal Randolph as a person. I'm going to shout him out.
That's a good shout out.
That's a good shout out. I also want to shout out, Lenny for being such a big supporter of the show and just supporting my hopes and dreams, and just I don't know, just genuinely always having something to say, which is really great when you're looking for people who have something to say. Let me tell you what, having somebody around who wants to say something is really great. So shout out to you, Lenny. I really appreciate the hell out of you, man.
Thank you.
Let's see, who else do I want to shout out? I want to shout out Stretch. I'm not going to link any of our content. No, I'm just kidding. I'll link our YouTube channel or something. We have some cool music videos. I want to shout out all the guys in Teolin too. Hope everybody's doing well. If you guys do happen to listen to this, miss and love y'all. That's probably, and you know what? Shout out to you, the listeners, for making it through 50 fucking episodes with us. How cool is that? So appreciate the hell out of each and every one of you too. So thank you so much. Lenny, take it away. What do you got for shout outs?
Well, first I want to shout out the both of you guys, because I mean, what a great podcast. I mean, and I don't mean that facetiously at all. You know, like I said, I've enjoyed listening to it since the beginning, and I just want to thank y'all for having me on and having me on for 5-0. We're gonna do this again at 100.
Absolutely.
Shout out to your guys' listeners, and shout out to my lovely wife for taking care of the kids while I'm doing this. It's bedtime for us right now. It's 8:31 on the West Coast, and it's bedtime. And she's been a freaking rock star doing this. And love you, babe. She hates it when I call her babe too. So.
You know, I still think back to when Rosalind was born and she tweeted out, decided to fuck around and birth a human today. I think about that all the goddamn time.
It's a pretty solid tweet. I mean, honestly, like, it's really good.
Hey, I got two more to throw in here before I kick it over to Wes. I want to shout out my beautiful fiance, future wife, Ashley. You know, she puts up with me recording at all different times of day, having to take time aside to produce and edit this podcast. Be on my phone a lot when I'm pretending to be a part of social media and connect with people and make posts, and just kind of putting up with me in general, not just even as a mediocre content creator, but just as a person. So I really love you and appreciate you. So thank you so much. I also want to shout out my great ass co-host and you know,
I do have a great ass. Thank you.
Father of this brainchild. That is the show, Wes Shirley. I love you, buddy. I'm glad we finally got to do something together. I feel like we're just getting started, and here's to the next 50 episodes.
Wes, congratulations, you're a dad to the podcast.
Oh, my baby. Thank you. I would like to give a fine shout out to my friend Kevin. Thank you for doing this thing with me. Shout out to Lenny, of course. Thank you for also doing this thing with us. I want to give a shout out to our friends who have been on the show. Shout out to Mercedes, thank you. Shout out to Peapod, thank you. All of those are among my favorite episodes.
Don't forget Lauren.
I'm not even done here.
I was going to say Lauren getting shit on.
Shout out to Jimmy. We can't forget Jimmy either. Or
Big Tuna.
Yeah, Big Tuna. We could put a link to him too. Plug everyone. I mean, let's get our friends some follows. Shout out to I know she's already been shout out, but she is a friend that was on the episode. Shout out to Brittaney, Lenny's wife. And then shout out to oh man, is it Lauren Skebba? I'm so confused about her name. All right, sorry. Shout out to Laura Skebba. And yeah, I think that's everyone. I hope so. I'm gonna feel bad if I miss someone. Shout out to, you know what? We never do this, so shout out to fathers.
Oh fuck!
Ooh.
We give mothers all the love, and there are some great ass dads out there. I think Lenny proved that earlier by hyping up his kid for bed.
Shout out to us.
It's time for bed. I'm over here at night, like telling Ashley, like, don't fucking rile the dogs up before bed. Lenny's like, yeah, bed. Who wants sugar?
Well, you know, I only get to do it for so much longer, and I'm not going to have any more kids. I got clipped last week.
Good for you, man.
Oh, damn.
Congrats. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but congrats.
No, congrats is good.
Okay. Today on the show, Wes, if he was a urologist.
All right, so we're just gonna now look under here, son. I'm gonna lift up your balls. Down here, this thing's called a vest. I'm gonna sectomy that. Again, these are in your balls. Do you feel me touching your balls right now? Okay, all right, so they're still there. Good. All right. I'm not actually a doctor.
I think that's a great spot to leave it. Folks, we're going to get the hell out of here. We will see you next week for episode 51. Don't forget to reach out to us on our socials at The Life Midwest. You can email us at support@thelifemidwest.com. And hey, if you're feeling like it, leave us a review on your favorite listening app too. We really appreciate it. Until then, call your mom. Don't forget to call your mom. We've been saying it for how long now? Just call your damn mom. Just get it over with.
Call your mom. Have a good one.
We will talk to you guys next Saturday and every Saturday here on the
Yes. This is the best.
Have a good one.